What is good, guys? It is Reed and welcome back to another video. Today we got Give Me a Breakdown episode 15, which will be part 1 of breaking down the star sign mind reading video from Ottawa, Canada. If you haven't seen that video, I will link it up here. But in part 1, you are going to get some incredible advice. We are going to be looking at a performance gone wrong of a propless star sign divination. This is one of my absolute favorite propless mentalism pieces, but this is the first time I performed it and things did not go very well. And I give a ton of great advice on how to improve it, how to properly deal with anagrams, and some advice on a few different propless principles, as well as what I should have done better and how I could have saved this effect. I begin by talking about my favorite gimmicked effect using a deck of cards, and in it there'll be a ton of insight into all kinds of different card magic and audience management principles that will help you with all of your card magic. Now, if you'd like any more help from me one-on-one, you can check out some private lessons at the link in the description. And if you'd like to learn some of my best mentalism, you can go check out my mentalism membership in the description or linked up here. On my membership, I am teaching every effect from practical mental magic and giving you my own spins and twists and modernizing all these effects, as well as teaching some of my best material. So go check out my mentalism membership now. With all that said, guys, let's not take any more time. Let's jump right in to Give Me a Breakdown, episode 15. So I believe this is a performance of Face Off. Again, this is an effect that I've talked about a few times in a few different breakdowns, but it's an effect I would absolutely recommend. It is a gimmicked effect, the only gimmicked effect that I do, but the gimmicks are something that you can easily make yourself, and so it's well worth it. It was available through Illusionist by Ron something or other. And it's a great effect, super powerful. It's a torn and restored, but it's super practical. You know, you have some torn and restoreds like the Reformation by Guy Hollingsworth. That is very difficult to do, and I used to do that a lot. I have a performance of it in one of my Omega magic videos that I can link above if you're interested, but it's an incredible torn and restored. You know, you tear the card into 4 pieces and slowly restore it. And then I learned Torn by Daniel Garcia, which is another 4-piece torn and restored, super clean. That one's a lot easier, but it's also quite angly and is still difficult to do. And so I kind of got away from both of those just in interest of finding something a little bit easier to perform. I do like Torn and Restored as a plot. It's honestly never been one of my favorites, but it does hit really well. And so I ended up finding Face Off, and this is something that is super easy. There's not much work for me to do, and it really allows me to focus on the presentation and take that in. Now, this was a really fun group. They had some great reactions. So here I started with a quick riffle force to force my gimmick and the duplicate card that you'll need for this. Write whatever you want on the face there. Your name, whatever.
You can see it too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I already seen the card. It doesn't. So this is 2 interesting points. So here, you see I am holding the deck and I'm having him sign it. This is a very good strategy that you're going to need to use for certain effects when they're either signing a gimmick or signing a double. Often you'll want to do this where they can't really hold the card and you don't really want them to accidentally be holding the deck with the card, because you could give it to them that way, but they might move the card, they might notice the gimmick, they might, you know, who knows what they're going to do. So if you kind of hold the deck in a mechanic's grip and then rotate your wrist and you can point it towards them and they can sign it across like you see me doing like that, it's natural, it's comfortable, it's not awkward, it's a good way to hold it and make sure that you keep a hold on it. Now, what's the justification here? Well, I often just say, here, I'll hold on to it for you to make it easier, which, if you think about it, it doesn't make a lot of sense because it'd probably be easier in their hand, but it's one of those justifications that if you say it, they'll just accept it and they won't question it, right? Because it doesn't seem like an important moment, though it is pretty vital for us for the method that they don't. So another time where I'll use this is if I want them to sign a double, where I'm kind of holding a break and I want them to just sign the double, so I can just turn it over right away and hand them the card that has been switched. I'll be talking about this and showing you an actual effect where you'll use this strategy in an upcoming mentalism tutorial I have on my effect called Convolution. And so with this, you're going to use this technique to have them sign a double right away. And then you can instantly go into flipping it over. So that's the reason for me holding it. I've heard other performers use the justification of, you know, we don't want the cards to blow away, let me hold on to it or whatever it is. I usually just say, here, I'll hold on to it so it's easier for you. You know, you have something sturdy to write on. The other important thing is you hear him ask, is it okay if you see it? And this is something you'll run into a lot. You'll say, okay, and for the first time, what's the card you're thinking of? And they'll say, do I tell you? Or you'll say, here, sign the card, and they'll be like, well, you can see it. Or I'll say, pick a card, and if I'm doing like the faces face up, or if I say name a card, right? And they'll be like, do I have to tell you? Like, you can see it. You know, even with this group, in one of the other effects I did on them, I think I did a transpo. And as you know, in the transpo, it doesn't matter if I see the card. It's not a, you know, pick a card, don't let me see it, I'm gonna find it, because in a second I'm gonna see it anyway, so it doesn't matter. But even still, I told them, I was like, hey, I'm gonna see the card in a second, it's not that kind of trick. And they still like went away and hid to sign it, and then I just take it from them and look at it. So, you know, that's one thing you have to be aware with spectators. They are cognizant of the fact that as a magician, they don't want you to see the card. So there's some things you can say to kind of bring their guard down, such as, no, it's not that kind of trick. It doesn't matter if I see it. That's the line that I usually use. So he's like, you know, I'm signing the card. Is it okay that and it's okay that you see it? I'm like, yeah, don't worry. It's not that kind of trick. And then they'll forget about it. But it is something that's important because you want to kind of ease them, and most spectators' opinion of a magic trick is a find a card trick. So you want to kind of get them out of that mindset a little bit.
Just to make it unique. Just make sure that I can't have two of the same cards, right? No matter what. So take the two, someone else.
So there you see the discrepant move, which I've talked about with face off. The two cards are facing up, but then I have to switch the gimmick. So the gimmick is double-sided. Let's say it's the 7 of diamonds and the 6 of clubs, and then I'll have another 6 of clubs, let's say. So you'll see the 7 of diamonds and the 6 of clubs, but then I need to flip everything. So now to do the switch, to have them sign the gimmick 6 of clubs, which is on the back, I have to flip everything. So I do that little discrepant move. I'll show you it again here. And it's one of those things that you just do in the off moment. And watch carefully how all the attention, after he signs that first card, I bring his attention up by telling him, you know, you just signed it to make it unique, right? It's just to make it unique to you, to make sure there's no other card like that. And again, this is a line that I always think is important when you have a spectator sign a card. Tell them why that is important. They're not magicians. They don't think about these things. They are not as familiar with magic, so they might not comprehend why doing a signed card effect is so impressive. So make sure you say and you iterate. Basically, your goal should be to make them feel the same way you feel about the effect. So why do you think it's better to use a signed card? Well, tell them. It's not stating the obvious. It's not saying things you shouldn't say, right? I've made a whole video about stating the obvious. You can go check that out. It is important in a lot of cases in magic to state things that seem obvious, because your spectators, they're not as comfortable and familiar. They don't think about why a signed card is so much better. So it's important to say, well, now that you've signed it, this is truly unique. There's no other card like it in the world. You could even say there's no way I could switch it, anything like that. Tell them why doing the signed card effect is better. Anyway, so that's important. But you see, watch my eyes. You can see my eyes right now. They're up, they're looking up, right? They're looking at him, and watch how their energy now shifts up. And once that comes up and all their body language comes from here where he's signing it to up here, that's when I'll quickly execute the discrepant move, because it's not fooling, it's not hidden, nothing like that. It's just a move you do out in the open. It's very discrepant, but no one ever notices it because of the timing. So pay attention to when they're down here signing it, to how I get their attention to come up, and then when I execute the move.
Whatever.
You can see it too?
Yeah. I already seen the card, it doesn't matter. Just to make it unique. Just make sure that I can't have two of the same cards, right? No matter what. So take the two, someone else.
So again, you saw the move there. Now watch their energy this time. Instead of watching my hands, watch how they kind of lift up as I do the move.
Just to make it unique. Just make sure that I can't have two of the same cards, right? No matter what. So take the two, someone else.
And they kind of relax and just, they don't, you know, they take a step back, they relax, I do the move, and then we go back in.
Sign whatever you want. And just make sure these are totally unique, right? There's no other ones like this in the world. All right.
So you see there, this is something that I've changed since then, but you see how I just like flick up the card, I just pick it up? That really looks like I just picked up one card, right? It looks like I picked up one card, which it's a gimmick, and so I don't want them to know that it's pretty much just one card. So the way the gimmick's constructed, there is actually kind of like, it's more like two cards stuck together in a way. And so you can actually riffle through the end. So now if you see a more recent performance of me doing face off, you can go find those on the channel. You'll actually see how I'll pull up one card and pull up a second card. So what I do is I'll say, okay, I'll take one and I'll take two. And I can show them like this as I pick up my gimmick. So that's just a bit more convincing, and I'll kind of draw a bit of attention to that. I'll say, okay, I'll take the top card and the second card there. Instead of just doing this where it looks like what I did here, where it looks like I'm just taking one card.
So I have these two cards, right? These two cards, both signed. All right, watch, I fold it like this. You can see that. It's a real fold, and this is also real.
So there's things I like and I don't like about this particular performance at this moment. I think this moment I rushed it far too much. Again, this is probably my first time performing this effect. If I think back, this is my first time actually working in a real spectator environment, not like on my friends or family, this effect. I think this is the very first performance I ever did. And I kind of rush it, right? I don't really show them that it's their signed card front and back. I don't spend much time on that. I just pretty much show them and get right into ripping it. If you check, like look how quickly I do this.
Both signed. All right, watch it. Fold it like this. You can see that. It's a real fold, and this is also real.
So it's just so fast. I just say, look, signed card here, fold it, rip. Right? I would draw that out a bit more, say, look, like this is your signed card. There's no other way about it. You see your signature across the front of both sides. Think about it. It crosses the middle. Now, this is where it's going to get real. Now what I'm going to do is, unfortunately, we have these two unique cards, but I'm going to actually fold them up and start to destroy it in a unique way. Watch. Now I'm going to tear this, and I also tear it, as you'll see in a second, so fast. What I do like is how I'm right up close in his face, and I say, you know, look at this. There's no way your eyes can be playing tricks on you. And I slowly, and you see me tear it right in front of his face. That is a nice moment. This shot is actually really beautiful on video, but I just tear it really fast. I don't milk it very much.
That's real, right? It's tear. Nothing fake about that. Both sides, you can see.
Like that was nice. You know, I slowed down a little bit here, actually a little more than I remembered, and I kind of show both sides. That's good. Those are some important things, but I could have drawn out this tear a little bit more.
Right through. All right, hold out your hand for me.
And again, it's just like tear and then hold out your hand for me. I should have said, now look, now I have 4 pieces of card, right? I've ripped both in half. There's 4 pieces of card. I could have shown both sides, but I rushed this part a bit.
Close up, turn. Okay. Hold out your hand for me. Close up, turn. All right, just a little.
Now this part's good. You know, I get the card in their hand. I have them squeeze it and turn over. That's important. You know, if you ever want someone to hold on to something, like I always mention, you do it. You put it in their hand, you fold their hand closed, and that will make sure they don't, you know, look at it. If you're having a card between someone's hands you don't want them to look at, take their other hand, put it on top, and give it a little squeeze. Like, do it for them. Watch here, I'll show you again. You see I actually do it. I put it in his hand and close his hand.
Turn. Okay. Hold your hand for me. Close up, turn.
I do it all for him. I don't instruct him, I just do it.
Just a little pressure. Don't crush the cards, but just a little bit of, okay? Just focus on that, like kind of drive your energy towards there. Okay? And just do a little fist bump, you two.
This is a presentation that I do like with it, the fist bump presentation. I think it fits. If there's a third person, sometimes I'll have those two touch and then have a third person come down, you know, touch the back of each of the people's hands to like link them in a cool way. But I like this presentation. Again, this part wasn't too fast. I think I did a decent job at like, you know, feel the energy, you know, imagine that sort of thing. I generally don't like to telegraph this effect and say like, imagine those cards fusing back together. But I think that is a good choice in performance. I used to avoid it because I thought the surprise of this effect is better. But I think at this moment, once the cards are in their hand, you know, and they've seen you tear it and it's already in their hand, you can't go and change anything. Kind of telegraphing and say, imagine those cards starting to fuse back together. Or rather, imagine each half of those cards starting to come back together. Each fiber, each piece is starting to reconnect and rebuild of two things that were not one are now starting to become one. Something like that is, I think, a really nice pattern line for this effect.
Did you feel anything? Slowly turn your hands over.
I don't know why. I always say, did you feel anything with this? I never really get yes, and I don't think that's a problem. Some magicians won't like that, so then just don't say the line. But for me, it just gives them a moment to think about what they're feeling in this moment that I kind of like. But generally, they respond no, and I'll just kind of gloss over it.
Open the card. Open them up.
Oh, come on,
It's together. It's together. It ain't coming apart.
So you can see, like, this got a great reaction. Out of the reactions I did with these guys, this was probably their most tame reaction. They still, like, kind of ran off and everything. But They were just more quiet here. I think this was kind of like the last trick I did for them. I still think there are ways to get more out of this effect. I've had incredible reactions to this, and generally I do, but sometimes for some reason it does fall a little bit flat. I haven't quite figured out what the reason for that is when it does fall flat. It seems to be that they really want to just understand it, and they don't believe it, right? They don't believe that the card has actually fused. So they go immediately to try to see, like, wait, where did he glue it? Where did he, right? But there's nothing to find. So it's kind of a slow building for some people, where once they've really inspected it, like you'll see with this one guy in the black shirt, he's gonna have a good reaction in a minute once he really inspects that card.
No, maybe it's like... You are nookie.
I appreciate you guys.
This is good, brother. This is
Thank you.
oh, bro.
Thank you so much, bro.
Holy.
You guys hold on to those. Figure out how it's done. You won't be able to, but you can try.
I will. Because I need to.
It's a great effect, and you can see you've got a nice up close of the card there, and it looks great. The two signed halves have connected their signatures on it, and it's one solid piece. You even see the back of that card. There's no seam, nothing. It's one solid piece. On the front, you see the tear where it was originally teared, and it just looks like it's fused back together. So this is an example of how not to do a propless star sign divination. This was probably one of the first times I ever did it as well, and this was around the time when I first started learning propless mentalism. And so I was pretty comfortable with the star sign. Like, I would do it from time to time, but it was one of my first live ones. I did it on like Omegle a lot to practice. You'll see kind of how I make a few mistakes here, and it really just illustrates a point that I've talked about in my Mentalism 101 series about confidence. You can go check out that episode on confidence, because it's super key when performing mentalism that your reveals are done with confidence. If they're not, things are going to fall flat. As you'll see, this effect falls super flat here, even though these girls were very much into astrology, and that normally should make this effect really strong. You know, I succeeded, but it just fell flat.
You're into astrology? Just think of your star sign for me. Don't say it out loud, okay?
That's key. When you ask a girl in particular their star sign, make sure you don't say it out loud, because they will love to jump and tell you what their sign is and their freaking rising moon and all that, and you don't want to ruin the effect.
All right, think of the exact number of letters in it for me. Okay? It's okay, forget it.
Okay. I think I know.
It's not too important.
I think I know.
Okay. There's an R in it, yeah?
So that is a beautiful demonstration of the cups principle, if you're familiar with the cups principle. I won't explain what that is here. It's a Michael Murray idea. Absolutely fantastic. I use it all the time. It stands for the comparative uncertainty principle. What you really want to do with cups is the second you've picked up on the information that you need, that's telling you what it is that you're trying to figure out, right? With cups, if you're familiar, you'll know what I mean. Don't have them ideally say, yes, I've got it. Yes, I know how many letters are in my word. Or don't let them say, oh, no, like, hold on, I gotta think here. Or don't let them say, wait, can I Google it? Or don't let them really say anything. Just look and see how they react, right? You'll see here, I pick up on the fact that she's struggling to spell it before she even says it, and I just say, okay, well, never mind, it's all good, right? It's all good. If they can't figure it out, I'll say it's all good, and if it seems like it's coming quick, then I'll just say, okay, perfect, let's move on. So watch how I cut her off before she says anything.
Think of the exact number of letters in it for me. Okay? It's okay.
You see, her eyes go up, she's like, and then she drops her head, and I can tell she's in thought, and I know what I need to know already, and I quickly just jump in within under a second, and I just say, you know what, that's good, don't worry about it.
Okay, forget it.
Okay. I think I know.
It's not too important.
I think I know.
Okay.
So that's actually a textbook, a use of this principle here.
There's an R in it, yeah? No? Okay, hold on. Just keep...
Now this is, in my opinion, the best outcome, or there's probably, I guess, the second best. The best, I guess, would be if you hit every letter in the anagram perfectly. But if you get I love getting a no on the R, on the first letter in the anagram, because I instantly know it's one of two signs now. Based on the cups principle, I was able to eliminate, if you know the star sign anagram, there's actually 3 signs it could be now, but I can eliminate one of them based on the cups principle. So I instantly know it's one of 2, just like that, instantly. Like, this effect has been like 10 seconds and I know her sign between 2. And you see how when I deliver the R, when you're delivering an anagram, I say there's an R, right? I say, I'm just gonna see what I'm picking up on. There's an R. You're telling them, you're not asking them. That's the key with an anagram. You need to not make it feel like a question. like you're telling them. Here I used a bit of a closed statement where I'm kind of phrasing it as a question, but saying it with confidence, which is something you can do. So if you're like, there isn't an R, is there? If they say yes, you say, okay, I thought so. Or if they say no, you say, okay, I thought so. Because you said there isn't an R, is there? It works either way. I don't like doing that on the first few letters, maybe in like the third letter. When you're on those first 2 or 3 letters in an anagram, just rifle them off like you're telling them. Just say, there's an R, isn't there? And she says no. And then now you'll watch me quickly reframe it into now she needs to focus on the picture. So I'm just trying to get her to forget the fact that she ever gave me anything about the letter, the fact she ever said no. The miss makes it feel a bit more authentic, but I want to definitely push past the miss as much as I can, as quickly as I can. The way I do that with the star sign is the second I say, there's an R in it, and she'll say no, then I'll quickly say, okay, hold on, I think you're a bit more of a visual learner. Let's focus on the image for me. So watch how I do that all here, that whole process.
It's okay, forget it.
Okay. I think I know.
It's not too important.
I think I know.
Okay. There's an R in it, yeah? No? Okay, hold on.
So again, I say, there's an R in it, yeah? I'm not asking, I'm telling you there's an R. And now one thing people worry about is people not giving an answer to an anagram, and that happens. You know, people do the whole like, do I have to tell you type thing. Just phrase it as like a competition in a way, or you know, you're being a bit cocky is what I would say. It actually works in your favor here. If you say, there's an R in it, and there is an R, they will likely confirm it because they'll understand that you're telling them. If they don't want to confirm it, if there actually is an R, you wouldn't know, but what you would say is, no, tell everyone, I'm telling you there's an R, just confirm to everyone else that I got it right. So you're kind of being a bit cocky, but that's gonna make them, if they have an R, they'll say, okay, yeah, there is an R, because it's a hit, so it doesn't really, you know, they don't question anything. If it's a no, oftentimes they'll want to say no because everyone wants to prove the magician wrong. They want you to not get it, most people. If they're holding back and they're saying, you know, I don't want to tell you, and this is the most likely case for them to hold back if it's a no, because they don't want to tell you that you're wrong, and it's also not a hit, right? So they're kind of wanting to hold back, thinking that they're giving too much away. Again, just come at it with confidence. Say the exact same thing, because you wouldn't know, so you're going to say the same thing. No, tell everyone there's an R in it. I'm telling you, just confirm to everyone. Now, because you're cocky and setting it up as a competition, they'll be like, okay, magic boy, no, there isn't an R. They won't say it like that, but that's the feeling you elicit, which will make people want to tell you. And that's good. And in a perfect anagram, there should be at most one no. The star sign is a perfect anagram. There's only one no. The second you get your no, you reframe and you know what the sign is. So it's perfect, right? It's absolutely perfect. That's why I love performing it so much. So watch the reframe now.
Just keep repeating. I want you to focus on the picture. Think of the picture.
Okay, like
The picture, yeah, whatever it is. Keep saying it over in your head, like Gemini.
So I say, now I'm going to do the repeat it ploy to determine her reaction. So again, with the picture, sometimes if people aren't as familiar with signs, I'll say, just think of the image of the sign. And if you're not familiar with what the image is, just think of what it reminds you of. That's what I say. So, you know, some people aren't familiar. Now, here's where I kind of screw it up. I do the repeat it principle, Darren Brown idea, where you can proplessly distinguish between 2 outs. One of my favorite propless principles, super incredible. But I didn't really gauge her reaction well, and she didn't really give a great reaction. You'll see it kind of just falls flat here because of that. And I think it would have been a good reaction if I had kind of hit this better, and I'll explain.
Gemini. Keep saying it just like that.
So you see, she really doesn't, she's a Gemini. She ends up being a Gemini. You see, she really, now that I look at it, you can kind of see the smile that I probably should have picked up on, but I didn't really pick up on it at this point. So I'm kind of unsure though, because I do see a bit of the smile. So then I kind of like, I'm like, okay, I think it might be Gemini. So I kind of ask her instead of telling her, and that's what kind of makes it fall flat. I should have just committed and said, either you're a Gemini or a Pisces, and I wasn't totally sure. So, you know, I could have done that. I could have used a different kind of propless ploy just to really be sure, because oftentimes with repeated, I am sure, but this was a case where I wasn't. I kind of say, you know, it's a Gemini. Well, you'll see what I say.
Does that sound, it's close? Gemini. Yeah.
What give that away?
Just your.
So you see the one guy here, he had a decent reaction. The girl, she had a pretty good reaction, but it just feels flat for what like a propless mind reading. Like it's just kind of flat, and it's because I questioned it. I said, "Is that close?" Instead of saying that's a Gemini, I should have just committed. I should have committed. Just commit. If you commit either way and they say no, it's fine, because you can easily follow up with the actual thing. Once they say no, you'll know what it is, and I think it would still hit harder than what I did here. where I was kind of like easing into it and I said, oh, does that sound right? Is that close? And she's like, no, that's it. And it's like, okay, well, were you even sure? Like, that's how it feels to her. So it's kind of flat, right? But she's still into it, like, oh, what gave it away? So it wasn't too bad, but just not as good as it could have been. All right, guys, I hope you love that breakdown. This last section on the propless star sign divination and of a performance that didn't go very well is actually way more insightful than a performance that did go well. So I think there's a lot of valuable information, particularly with how to properly conduct anagrams, because anagrams are an amazing propless mentalism principle, but they're often done wrong. I also really love some of the audience management advice you get with Face Off in the beginning, and again, some things that I really could have done better with that effect. But as always, guys, if you'd like these type of videos and you'd like to see more from me, make sure you drop me a comment, leave me a like. If you'd like to check out some private lessons or learn some incredible mentalism on my mentalism membership, you can at the links in the description. But with all that said, guys, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.